Presentation was recorded live for the International Association of Square Dance Callers 19th Annual Convention. We take you live to Virginia Beach, Virginia, where our session is just getting underway.
For the benefit of the tape, this is a live recording if I don't shut this speaker off. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. This is the session on taking the mystique out of calling equipment for female callers, to take the fear out of using it, to give them an education as to what it can do for you. I found the buttons. And the right two buttons, too. For those of you who don't know this strange gentleman running around in a shirt and tie making us all uncomfortable, this is Scott Argo with Tapes International. Okay, is it working? I shut that off. It was giving me feedback. Thank you. Say hello, Scott. Goodbye, Scott. Okay. Flip what? Oh, okay, yeah, that too. Somebody let me know when it kicks off. Okay. How many of you own Hilton-type sets? How many of you wish you owned Hilton-type sets? What kind of a set do you own, ma'am? Older Hilton? Newcomb? Bogan? How many of you started on a Newcomb? Okay, you're not alone. It was the first thing I could afford because it was a dream to own Hilton. Now I work for him. Now the dream's a nightmare. No. I was going to leave age out of this, Betsy. The question was how many started before Hilton. He's 77. You're not. How'd you start before he did? True. Okay. How many of you have a good, strong partner to work with that will be honest with you? Wait a minute. I said good and strong, some hands went up. Honest with you, more hands went up. Okay. Part of the set situation that you face with is dealing with male counterparts who have, shall we say, a stronger opinion of what you should sound like. And there are many issues to look at in dealing with this kind of a situation. One of the issues is, shall we say, male dominance, and in a situation where they wish to intimidate you or embarrass you so they can shine. The reason I say something like this, and as you can tell that a lot of the things I present today will have a lot of humor interjected, because about the only thing I take serious in this activity are the checks. Okay? It's a recreation. It's a game. It's something to play with. And these are the toys we play with to make ourselves sound good, tell the truth, or scare the hell out of the dancers. Okay? The latter is something we don't want to do unless we're intent on it. We want to sound good. We want to sound the best we can. In a dance situation, there are three major components. The three major components are, the prime component are our dancers, the people who we are going to entertain, teach, however we wish to approach our subject. The second is ourselves, the professional. We are the people doing the job. The third part is the part that's most overlooked, and that's the part in between, the path of communication, the sound system. How many of you have gone to a festival and said, I wish I didn't show up. I can't hear that idiot. We've all been there. How many of you have been to a club dance and said, doesn't he know how to turn the knobs? And how many of us are standing there saying, what do I do? Okay? For female callers, male callers, part of this issue is bridged. It's the same for everybody. It's how we set them. The main difference between male and female callers is your vocal register and how you approach it. How you adjust the equipment to compensate. If you're like Terry when she's singing in a non-square dance activity, she is a second soprano. When she calls, she lowers her vocal register to be in a vocal range that is clearly understood. How many have ever heard Beverly Sills and can actually understand what the heck she's saying? You can't, because she's in a vocal register that's in competition with the music. Vocal range is in a lower area or in a higher area based on the music you're working with. So you have to take that into consideration. When it comes to specific equipment, one thing remains predominant. The microphone can be your friend or your enemy. And the one way to look at this whole situation is microphones are a personal instrument, and they should be chosen based on your needs, not on the buddy system. My buddy sounds good on it, therefore I will. Ain't necessarily so. That's a very important point. People recommend, and sometimes you just jump because you don't know. Down at our booth, at Supreme Audio's booth, various and sundry microphones. I brought some of them up here today. And I'm in a position where I can do a quick evaluation of choosing a microphone that can, in general, help you through the system. Other factors to consider when you're doing a sound situation to make yourself sound good, we'll work on amplifier control, speakers a little bit, but the one thing that we have no control over is our acoustic environment. One of the things that we deal with are clubs who have halls that they can afford. Acoustics is not a factor when they choose it. We walk into echo chambers. We walk into places where we dance and we don't know which time to listen to the caller. Okay? There are ways to control it as best as we can given the environment. And these are a couple of little tricks I'll throw out too. But the main thrust for you today is to take the fear or give you a little bit more reassurance that when you mess with the knobs a little bit, you're doing what is best for you. Trust your partner. Your partner is your best friend and your worst critic. And they've got your best interest at heart. They want you to sound good. And this is one thing we're going to do. At Hilton Audio, we service what we sell. One of the things we do, we get amps in periodically for servicing and whatnot. There have been times where we have gotten sets in that have been out for 5-6 years. The tone controls have never been moved. We kind of ask a general question. Don't you work your tone controls? No, we thought it was preset at the factory. Yeah, right. We just set them up straight to look pretty when we ship it out instead of look like a half-assed job. That's all we do. We've also seen certain volume controls, and there's ways we can find out where the volume control knob has been set and never touched. It stays in the same place because you can tell it crackles when you move it. Another thing when you're doing your work, and I can help you in that, is speed control. I've seen platters on the underside. Now, I'm not breaking anything. All of our machines come apart like this. You can pull them out, lubricate them, fix them. On the back side is where we have the strobe disc. We've seen sets where at the 45 position there has been a groove cut in this aluminum plate. Nobody varies their speed. You know how you can play a record, and if it's just a little out of your range, how you can change the key? Change the speed. Right. And I know that because of the music that's presented, you guys have probably the hardest gripe for finding a comfortable vocal range. Well, you have a way of controlling it a little bit. You may change the tempo a bit. You may change the meter of the music a little bit. If you need to change the key, speed is the fastest way to do it. That or beating up the producers. One or the other, Yeah. Next year's beat up the producers. Well, you know why they scheduled this session now? The record producers are having their own meeting far from this room, I understand that. But with the onset and the greater predominance of female callers coming into the activity, this is a serious thing we have to address. But it may sound the same as what I would say to your male counterparts. The only difference is where I reset the controls. How many of you have one of the 75 size amps? Okay. The 300 size amp. Okay. How many of you don't count, John? Well, you count. We appreciate your business. Yeah, well, you're a C1 caller. You can call up that high. I only do A2, so I can only go to 4. How many of you have like a 200 mid-range size? Okay. How many of you have a boat anchor called an HP95 that's got tubes in it? Good. I gave mine away. I couldn't sell it. So I have two models here. It's a 200 size that we're currently making. The 75 size. I wasn't able to snag one of the 300 models. They needed one in the booth and one over at the theater today. Controls are pretty much the same. They respond the same. It's a question of where the holes are. If you have bought your set used, I'm not kidding when I make that statement. I'm not making light of it. If you guys want to have a clever thought, go ahead. Clue me in as to what you meant. 9 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning tips. Come on, this is what this is. You know, who wants to call that early in the morning? Who wants to see daylight that early in the morning? Anyway, the location of the controls may vary from instrument to instrument. Where you plug things in relationship to where the controls that control them are may be a little different. The amplifiers in general operate the same. They may have a slightly different tone or sound to them, but those are all controllable by the controls that we provide. We are the only manufacturer specific to this industry that provides a separate phono path, a separate microphone path with individual tone controls. If you've ever been in a situation like in a theater or whatnot, you have volume control, these big hairy amps with 4,000 watts of power that basically dust the ceiling when you hit low notes. Their tone controls are after all the volumes has been dealt with, and it's a general tone control. You've been to situations where you go to, let's say, even downstairs in whatever that place is downstairs, the bar, and they have that karaoke machine and all that stuff. And everyone sounds like a lounge lizard, basically. Bass. For some callers, especially male, they need to take bass out of their voice. For you, well, I have to add, well, I'm one of those that needs bass. Basically, I sing tenor. And the nicest compliment that I ever got about singing high notes was from Daryl Clendenin, pardon me. Short and bald. Yeah, Clendenin. And he asked me one time after harmonizing, how tight are your shorts? I need to add bass into my systems. Now, we're working with a house system that's going to do absolutely no justice to something I'm going to do. I brought a separate speaker, and there's going to be some blank spots on the tape. But I can kick this speaker in with a switch and work off the 1 amp I am now and give you an idea of what changes can be in a real sense. These are hotel cheap speakers, and we're dealing with it. It's nothing we'd ever want to call with. Okay? Again, microphones are personal. Your amp settings are personal in each individual environment. Every time you change halls, you don't reset to the same locations. You have to set to the sound of the hall, the environment you're in, whether you have 1 square, 5 squares, 10 squares. That changes how you sound. One of the things I work with in setting a festival level, which is a dog to do, you're dealing with rooms that are 30,000 square feet, echo chambers with bitchy vendors who are setting up, throwing all their stuff around, and I'm praying that all the clothing vendors are directly across from the speakers. Why? Material absorbs sound. Dancers absorb sound. One of the best ways I know that I got it right is when I'm too loud and one of the vendors' hearing aids pop out. I got it right when the dancers are in there. They're saying, it's too loud, it's too loud. I said, yeah, it's bouncing all over the concrete. When you set sound, account for things like this. When you set up, very few people are in the hall, correct? And then all of a sudden it changes. People are in the hall. We can't hear in the back. Oh, I have a pet peeve. The last thing you want to ask is an opinion from a dancer. They'll give it to you. Can you hear in the back? Is probably one of the most, to me, and this is a personal feeling, unprofessional statements you can make, because you're inviting soliciting of opinions, and they don't stop until you go home. They'll be glad to give you their opinions. We are the professionals. You are the professional. You are in control of this situation. Ask your partner to go to the back give you the high sign, low sign, any kind of sign, jump up and down, whatever. Let them be the judge for you, because they know you best. Okay. To this point, any general questions? Because what I'm going to do now is have each one of you speak to me for a moment. I want to hear your individual voices. Now, I've spoken to Sandra a little bit already. She has a lower register voice and general alto range. Laura? Sleepy. The question was, how am I? Sleepy, yeah. Okay. Aleta? Alita. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. From who? That's got to be Georgia. Got it. Yeah, you unloaded a caller on us. His name is Roger Loney. You ever hear of him? Will you take him back, please? No, damn. Thank you. No. We love him. He's super out there. He's done a good job. Joyce, you're from where? Wisconsin. Okay. You have a slightly higher voice. You also have a little bit of a timidity in your voice. Lower range. Okay. How many of you understand the difference between a normal speaking voice and a stage voice? Okay. Do you know what that means? I'll be. You haven't. Okay. What you've done is you've taken your normal voice and added adrenaline, basically. Okay. You project more. You're out there. When you're out there, the more you project into a microphone without straining your voice, without pushing your voice, but just giving it a little more oomph for emphasis, the easier you're going to have a time with your systems. Okay? Yours is et. I can understand why you didn't have it all put on there. They'd never fit on the badge. McAtee. Okay. Eileen? My dad's old stomping grounds. All right. Patty? Okay. Florence? I know where the hell you're from. This is Rich Gehrman from Spreckles, California, home of CNH's competition. Donna? To where? Don't say that on your badge. I know. Lottie? Okay. And that's the boss? Or schlep along? The boss. Pack mule. Caller holler. Yeah. You notice how I'll stop. I'll catch up to a second. When it comes to the male callers, they have callers ta, callers partner, and my ex kind of objected to the word ta. Kind of, reminded her of a shortened version of pack mule too. But, and she didn't lift anything until it was under 10 pounds. But when we get to the males being the partner, instead of the names get a little more sarcastic. Anything is. I'd like to know the person that came up with that thing and shoot him. I personally, I think it's just degrading. Okay, Pete, she's the the dot's there. Okay, Beverly, you're the dot. It took me about 5 hours. What the heck is the dot? Oh, they're the mouthpiece. Got it. Okay, go ahead, Beverly. Permission obviously was not an issue. That's great. I know everyone knows who you are, the chairman of the Female Callers Committee. Yay. I have to admit something. Betsy and I have known each other a few years. About 5-6 years, I think, at this point. And we were in Oklahoma, Memphis. How many of you managed to get to the Memphis National? How many of you made the mistake of trying to get into the advanced hall? Okay, good. There was no room. You had to take a number to get in. I walk in. I charge in. I don't care. I'm stupid. I walk in there. I walk past it. Now, Betsy and I have been friends, and we shoot one-liners at each other in passing no matter what. I'm walking past the stage, and I just walk by and say, do you know what you're doing? And just keep on going. She looked at me and said, oh, you're here, and kept on going. And it's been a short sheet game ever since. And that was in checkerboarded squares, too, you know. So somebody's facing somebody's ear. I didn't set up a T-bone. Okay, not on this list. Okay, hon? Good. Next. Huh? Okay, I want to see if you could project. You're next. Wake up. I see. Okay. John? Al, good morning. What we're calling it is a polite way of caller holler. Yeah. Okay, next, sir. You don't... I'm kind of glad. Okay. Ma'am? He's the... Can I... Do we have an argument this morning or something here? We're not on friendly terms this morning. Okay, next, ma'am. Name? Oh, great. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Could I get a name at least? Nancy, thank you for coming. Who snuck in the hall? I know it was you. Name? Okay, welcome. Welcome. Okay, what we're going to do for a little while. I've heard your voices. Some of you project. Some of you are a little timid. Some of you wonder what you're doing up at 9 o'clock in the morning. We understand this. Okay. I have several microphones up here. This is the one I'm using right now, is a 257 made by Electrovoice. How many of you own a microphone like this? Several of you. Okay. Another one I have is an Astatic CTM80. It's a cousin, brother, whatever, to the old 810. They're basically the same thing. It's just different packaging and a higher price. How many of you own something that looks like this? Okay. How many of you own a beast that looks like this? This is good. This is an Audio-Technica Pro 50 feedback special. Okay. We all went there once. I buy cords and don't trust them. An AKG mic similar to this. Okay. Pretty much a favorite. It's one we do recommend because of its vocal range. Now, I didn't get these open yet. I got to do a quick show here. This next one is the tried and true for the last 40 years. I don't know of any caller who's been calling more or less than 10 years that didn't start with a drumstick. The old 635. Okay. You sold it? How? Oh, okay. And then the yards. I have a 3-year-old son, and I have a couple of the 635s at home. And you know, you can use them for drumsticks, and they still work. Morning, Bob. Okay. For those of you who don't know Bob Lottie, he is the caller hauler for Dee Dee Doherty Lottie. Welcome, Bob. We're glad you're here. Yeah, the instructions fell out. They work. They work. I'm the purchasing agent for Hilton Audio. I can get it replaced. Nobody know the difference. Anyway, 1200D. Okay? This has what we call a bass roll-off switch on it. This roll-off switch takes bass out or puts it in where you need it. Like I said, they come up working. We try to make durable materials. What I'm going to ask you to try, you've got a 631 with a switch in silver. You've got a collector's item, and I don't make fun. I'm impressed. I know. As I said, microphones are a personal instrument. Okay? And you want to always keep it a personal instrument. try not to share your germs whenever possible. Okay? You never know who's going to drop it for you. One item, I'll put it in the thought. When you're doing your work, how many of you feel that your voice is a little high and you want to kick a little bass into it? Be cautious kicking bass into it, especially through our systems. Let the microphone do that for you, like a 257 D1200. The D190 is the same thing as a D1200, except it doesn't have the bass roll-off switch, CTM80. If you want a bass response out of a 635, get a kettle drum. Okay? That's the only way you're going to get it. It has no bottom end. Yeah, especially when you beat the snot out of it, too. Okay? You want more drum out of it. No. I kid Newcomb, but I started and I can't talk. The only reason I sold it is because it shorted out, and it came right up to the microphone when it shorted out. I got a 25-volt surprise in my face. Okay? Didn't do anything for the mustache I had at the time either. You shouldn't do a flame cut on those things. Anyway. But when you do that, be cautious. If you look at the CALLERLAB list of calls, you will find a prevalence of words that have S's, T's, and D's in them. What we call plosive sounds or sibilant sounds. When you start working towards a bass response on those units, and you start going towards the bass control, and you start going deeper and deeper, you end up talking like Gabby Hayes with no teeth. Your T's, D's, and S's start to disappear. Don't be afraid of being a little sibilant or having a sharper sound. We were talking, I'm also involved with the hearing enhancement system program that CALLERLAB is working on. For those of you who don't know, it's personal radio-controlled assistance hearing devices. Our activity is on an increase in average age. The average age is somewhere between 55 and 60 for our participants. As we get older, our hearing gets more selective. We as performers need to be able to compensate for our dancers' loss. So if you want to put a little bottom end in your voice, great. Try it through the microphone instead. I'm not saying don't use the tone controls, but don't use them to a point where you lose clarity, because they have to hear those sounds to recognize and distinguish the calls. Okay? Make sense? Okay? One of the other things you don't want to do is think, well, you've got your music going, you got your voice going. Music shouldn't be that loud. We callers have a problem working next to the speakers. It's a normal problem. It's a fact of nature. We call it hearing fatigue. How many of you, towards the end of an evening, you've been calling away and boy, that music got quieter. You start cranking the music. Well, we've got our ear in the speaker. Nature put in a protective device called hearing fatigue. Hearing fatigue turns it down internally. Okay? All of a sudden, we think that crappy amp is dying on me. No. It's us, our bodies, turning it down so we don't hurt ourselves. Towards the end of the dance, the dancers are getting a heck of a blast because we think it's getting weaker. Okay? Consider that while you're working too. Okay? Also, when we hear ourselves on stage, some of us have, how many of you fight a little bit voice-music balance? You fight it a little bit, okay? You do not hear what the dancers hear. I want you to try an experiment. I want you to plug both ears with your fingers and just hum a little bit. Plug both ears with your fingers and hum a little bit. And I'll say this is not an EST seminar. Just hum a little bit and then unplug, okay? Okay, unplug. When you hear the speaker, you are also hearing yourself at the same time, and that is what you are hearing. So when you think that the music isn't loud enough, that is because you are hearing yourself and that at the same time. Your voice is actually, in a sense, not directly, but doubled up at the same time. So, and you bring the music up because you don't think the music is loud enough. Keep it where it is, because the dancers only hear one. You're hearing two of yourself because of that little factor you just heard. Because whether you realize it or not, as you walk down the street talking to yourself, half of what you hear when you talk to yourself doesn't always come through your ears. It's coming through the bone structure in your hearing canal and all the infrastructure there. So keep in mind, keep your music lower than your voice. Ask your partner to verify. Yes, hon? Very readily. Very readily. She brought up an interesting point, remote microphones. I have to give round dance cuers who use wireless microphones the greatest compliments possible for being able to cue off beat and have it come out on the system on beat. You're going to find that. How many of you ever worked with a wireless microphone out on the floor? How many of you wonder why the hell you can't keep time for spit? Okay? That's why. It's a time delay in the loop of getting the sound through the system, through the transmitter, through the receiver, through the amplifier, through the speaker, back to your ears, and you think you're running late. Well, you are. It's something that's trained. If you use it regularly, you can anticipate and compensate for. That's just an aside. How many of you are in a situation where you have echoey halls? Okay? I've had the experience of being in Terry's hall, and the best thing for that hall is a bomb. It is a flat... Yeah, well, not always the case, but it'll sound good in a bad situation. Okay. Echo can be controlled to a degree. And one of the nice things I like to think about is more is not better. You can beat out the echo by blasting it, not give it a chance to come back a second time. Or you can have a nice, comfortable, cozy, intimate dance, keep the volume down, keep the dancers close to you, not close enough to bang on the table, but close enough to keep them close to you. That way the sound doesn't have a chance to even reach the back. Now, these are just little words and snippets that can work in situations. I want to talk on something that's probably going to be very, very sensitive. How many of you, when you have the opportunity to work with a male counterpart, get a little intimidated? Okay? Part of the structure I'm working with is not necessarily... I'm going to go outside the structure of the framework of this. The intimidation comes from within. Okay? You're letting it happen. That's all I'm going to say on it. You know what you need to do for yourself. If he wants to play boss, let him think he is. Go over and fix it for yourself. Okay? Very simple situation. I think it's a fun time. I enjoy calling with female callers. I have several in California. Deborah Parnell, who's here on staff this year. I've had the pleasure of training a female caller. And this is the person who created, I don't know if any of you are aware, Caller's Angel, which is the software program for IBM. Okay? She and her husband, Bill Fott, they went through caller school, and she turned out to be the one that had the talent, and he figured out how to work the computer better. So they kind of worked a team out that way. I have helped her. The biggest thing to overcome is to not be intimidated. Know your stuff. Okay. Now we're going to get to the meat of the matter. Your voice over the systems is what's probably bugging you the most, because you're comparing yourself to male. That is the thing you shouldn't do. There's no comparison. And take that for the positive statement that it is meant. You all have your voices. You all have your clarity. One thing to work with. You've noticed where I've kept the mic. It's sitting on my chin. Okay? Some people I've seen work the mic far, far away. There's a school of thought running around some of the caller coaches that you have to have it 2 fingers, 3 fingers away. Okay? I can bring the same gain up. Pardon me. There is something called the inverse square law. It's a big formula about that long. What that means is, sound reproduction travels and reduces its usability as it travels. Up here I'm getting optimum. I go 1 inch away or so, I'm only getting 1/4 of the sound. 2 inches, 1/9. 3 inches, 1/16. 5 inches, 1/25. People who, if you work close to the mic, you will get the optimum use out of it. Okay? The closer you are, some of these don't taste too good. That's why it's down here. Now, some say you got to talk right into it, over it. That's based on the microphone's response. You can't talk in here. It sounds funny. We work with what we call cardioid microphones that have a different pattern, and what that means is its area here has a specific area where sound can be picked up. These ball mics are unidirectional, omnidirectional. It means they pick up sound from all ends, which means you can carry on a conversation calling and also pick up what the dancers are saying to you. We don't need to hear this. We'll know if they're having success or not. Yes, sir. Not all. Those that are marked unidirectional. Shure puts out cardioid mics with that type of ball. I don't want to stereotype that all ball mics are like that. You have to read. If it says cardioid on it, it has a definite pattern, location of pickup, and it's not on the side. It is in one direct location. A lot of the omnidirectional microphones are built into a ball structure. Let me rephrase that. Thank you. That's very nice of you to clean up my act. Okay, but again, Radio Shack microphones, notorious. Read your mic. Make sure it has a cardioid pattern, or its grill is strictly in one location and not all grill, because you have one area of sound reproduction. Okay? Yes? Clean it? How do you clean your makeup off? Take it apart and wash it. They're disassemblable. On a JL mic, let me think. I think if you carefully, if I remember on a JL mic, the screen is what we call press fit. It's just pressed in there and held by pressure. If you take a very gentle pin and pry it up, going around the edge, pry it up, wash it off, pop it back on. These electro voice microphones are disassemblable. They also, it sounds funny too, they also have a replaceable foam insert. The AKG mics are disassemblable. The 635 is disassemblable. We tried, the only one that's not comfortably disassemblable is the, no, the drumstick is. It's got a screw in its head. And those actually, they're cheaper to replace than repair. Okay? The only one that isn't comfortable to disassemble is the static microphone. Theirs is a press fit, and once in a while, if they do a lousy job, they add glue to it. And you can tell when they add glue because you're turning purple trying to get that stupid thing off. It can be taken off, but gently. And if you have a problem with makeup buildup on it, it can influence the sound of your microphone because it's plugging up the holes where sound is going through. Okay? And we all hold the microphone in one place. Now, I took a microphone from the shop booth downstairs. The microphone I have at home, because of the way I hold it, it's got a bald spot right about here. Okay? I don't turn it here because if I can't find that button, I'm going to get mad. If I turn this, I'm going the wrong way because it's what I'm used to doing. Okay? How many of you, I have some records here that I stole them from Rawhide. Hilton has a tradition. Whenever we set up a booth at any convention, somewhere after all the machinery is set up and we're ready to try them out, there's this voice wafting over the vendor hall. Damn it, we forgot the records again. Amazing how record producers want their new records shown off. So that's how I got these records. I didn't bring anything from home. I have a patter record here, or a couple singing calls. How many of you would like to try different mics? I'll turn on this speaker. And it's a narrow-banded speaker, a little bit on its frequency. But try different microphones to see how you sound on it. And if you're willing to accept it, get a peer opinion. How many of you would like to try messing with the tone control a little bit to see how it can change what you sound like? Here are the variables involved in the whole system, and it's going to sound like a real octopus. You have variance in microphones with sound, you have control over the amplifier's sound, and speakers all have a different sound. Finding the one optimum unit is tough. It takes a little bit of decision. I realize that financial condition influences that decision. But most people can work well with pretty much anything they put together. If you have to be fussy about one issue, be at least fussy about your microphone. They're all within a kind of an average price range between a little under 100 to it tops out. Unfortunately, AKG decided to do another price increase. That $1,200 is now over $300 today. Yeah, thanks to devaluated dollars, it's made in Austria. Stored in San Leandro, California, but made in Austria. So, want to give it a try, Lottie? You wanted to jump up, see what it sounds like. A patter record, John Jones' latest creation. Anything? Let me see what, I don't even know what this sounds like. Okay. Again, speed control can change your tone. Okay.
Four ladies chain, go straight across that ring. Turn and chain those ladies right back home again. Join up hands, circle to the left, go walking round that ring.
I'll get on another mic. Okay. One thing I'd like you to try in your demonstrations is go ahead and fiddle with the knobs. The nice thing about these things is you can't hurt them when you're just turning the knobs. Most damage that we see on amplifiers is improper speaker hookup. caller. Improper speaker hookup. It's just a simple rule. If it's got a dead short in the back end, it's going to blow up in the middle. Bottom line. It's just that's the way it is. We can address that. That's another issue. Okay. What I'd like you to do this time, Lottie, is you heard voice music balance. I heard more music than you. Fiddle with the knobs. Now, if the layout is strange, here's phonograph, here's you. Okay? Go ahead. You get to put your own needle down.
Four ladies chain, go straight across that ring. Turn those girls, join up hands, circle to the left. Four ladies roll away with a half sachet, circle to the left. Almond left that corner, weave around that ring. Wind it in and out until you meet your own. Swing that lady round, promenade.
Okay. Very good. Now, this is not meant to be a critique session. If you want to try this, I will offer some opinions to better the situation. I'm not going to knock anything. I'm going to better it. One thing I would suggest, when I heard you vocalizing, okay, you're using your vocal cords. Sometimes you swallow your vocal cords, but your teeth keep going. Okay? Not all the words were coming out completed. You finished the word before you finish the sound of the word. Okay? You follow what's happened? Your vocal cords stop before your teeth stop. Like S's and T's. I just heard the plosive sound, but no vocal cord action. Okay? And some of it sounds like it's being swallowed a little. Otherwise, it's good. Okay? You have clear diction. It's just keeping your vocal cords a little more active, keeping a little more breath going. That way, you're not what we call swallowing the call. Okay?
Project?
Try.
Project now?
Well, project is a matter of opinion. If hold on a second. There's a difference, and I realize we must, as performers, give the same performance to one square as we do 25. When you see 100, your heart's racing anyway. You're at National Convention. I take off my glasses. They're not there anymore. I can't handle this. I enjoy it, but I don't have to look at it. Okay? Try again, but follow the suggestion. Keep your vocal cords active just a hair more.
All four ladies chain, go straight across that ring. Turn those girls, roll away, circle to the left.
Very good. You heard a difference, didn't you? Okay? Another thing. It's just a simple little thing. How many of you have been to Debbie's voice and speech stuff, okay? I have not had a chance to talk to Debbie. Part of my qualifications is, and I haven't used it in a long time, and I'm going to admit it, but I do remember a few things. When I was in college, I minored in speech pathology. So I have a little bit of a minor background in working with this thing as I train people. That is about it. Your voice is fine. You work with that microphone, I think you said?
I have this one.
Basically the same response. So let's see what it sounds like with you. I can break it, and I can sneak it home, and they'll never know, right? How much hush money is this going to cost me? Yours is in the mail. I know. I got nothing to hide. They don't buy the tape. Go ahead.
All four ladies chain, go straight across that ring. Turn those girls, roll them away. Join up hands, circle to the left. Circle to the left, go walking on that ring. Allemande left that corner, weave that ring. Wind them in and out.
Very good. Okay. A little higher quality. The bass roll-off on a 1200 isn't that greatly noticeable. It just adds a little kind of a bottom end or a boominess. I would suggest if you're working with a 1200 and you're in a comfortable hall, not an echo chamber, but a comfortable hall, go ahead, kick it into bass, because you need a little bit as much bottom end as you can possibly find. Because, again, the lady's vocal register, based on physiology, is just higher in general. Mama sang bass, it was still higher. Sandra, I understand. My mother, she made a comment earlier. She said it first. Okay. My mother, God rest her soul, was in a quartet and sang bass. Okay? She could hit the low notes. She could hit the high notes. It's just that she could also hit those low notes, and it bothered me to heck because I never could. Okay? Never be afraid to add, as I said, to your let your microphone add the bass to you. It won't distract from the clarity going through the set. Go ahead, kick it into bass. Okay? I hope you can be able to hear it over these speakers.
All four ladies chain, go straight across that ring. Turn that girl, roll her away. Join up hands, circle to the left. Four ladies roll away. Circle to the left. Do an element left that corner.
Good. Okay. Don't be afraid to kick it into bass at all. Okay. And you're dealing over lousy speakers. Over a better speaker, you'll be able to hear a lot better. Very good. Anyone else want to try and play? Yes. Yeah, we're using the ceiling system. If you want to step over on this side, I can kick in the director that's over here. I can't kick it in too much. Well, let me cheat here. It is somewhere. There it is. Hello. Check test. Check test. I've got to give an even signal here. Yeah, I know. But unfortunately, the tape is going through everything. So, yeah. See what a difference a speaker can make? Amazing. We have 5 speakers that we currently have at Hilton Audio. Each one has a different sound based on. We have the director and a couple other columns, folded horns, lunch boxes, whole different sound. Some of this stuff is done for dramatic effect to wake you up a little bit, that not all things are made the same. Okay? Some by design. I will admit a few by accident. We just tried something, it worked. Okay? Who else wants to give it a shot over the microphone? Come on up, Eileen. What mic do you normally work with? Samson cordless. Telex? No. Oh, you have a static mic. Okay. Here. Stay clear of that. Okay. Hear the nice little ring? Can I show you a trick? You need the gain. It's coming off of that thing. You need the gain, but you don't need that stupid ring. Take your tone control. Pull it out of treble just a hair, because what you're hearing is very high end. I'll let you know as soon as I figure out what I'm plugged in. One of these days, we're going to get color-coded chords. Whatever you do, don't ask Tony Oxendine who made his. I can't afford to do it a second time. Okay. There we go. With my voice, I want to pull out. Good morning. Good morning, Flo. I read the badge. I got that act worked out real good. My eyes never left your face. Okay. You know, it's how many of you had dancers? Oh, you were great 3 weeks ago, and you're wondering, who the hell is this clown? You know, thank God dancers don't hear this thing. You know, give it a try. On 2. Yeah, you're on 2.
Bow to the partner, corners 2, join hands, circle left, go walking round the ring. 4 ladies, roll away, you circle to the left and go. 4 ladies, roll away, you'll circle left and go. Do an element left to an element thar, go forward 2, men back into a backup star and go.
The first thing I noticed you do was you turn the tone control into a bass setting. Let me get off this stupid thing. I don't like them. First thing I noticed, though, is some of your sibilants, S's and T's, are diminished. You have a nice full voice anyway. You have a nice alto range. Don't be afraid to add a little more treble for clarity purposes. Let me kick it in a little bit and try it again. Play, band.
Join hands, circle left, go moving round the ring. You circle to the right, the other way back. Do an element left that corner, do an element thar, go forward 2, men back in.
How many of you heard a difference? Okay? Go ahead. That was very good. You're fine. Don't be afraid to put a little more treble into it. Again, these things, when you move tone controls on Hilton units, when you're doing it is, what's really happening is you are taking bass. You're taking treble out as you turn the whole thing. The bass is already there. We're just pulling the treble end out of it is when you're turning the control. Okay? For sibilance purposes, for clarity purposes, it's there. Don't be afraid to add a little bit just for that reason. Not a problem. It sounds good. You're clear. That's the important part. Ed, you wanted to try? Yeah. Okay, is the tank half empty or half full? Yeah, it's the same statement. You know, are you an optimist or a pessimist? You know. 9 o'clock Sunday morning tips. Okay. Okay, give it a try. Now you work with that kind of a mic or something else? A JL? That's going to be as close as we can get to it. Okay, well, what I'm going to start with is something you may be familiar with. If you want to try something else and see what you sound like, we'll see the difference. Play, band. You're on 2. Something about don't forget to turn the microphone on. How many of you started a tip and nothing happens because that stupid switch is in the wrong place? Don't worry about it. Yeah, just turn it a little. Okay.
Now bow to your partner and corner 2. Do an element left. Come back to an element thar, go forward 2. Boys violin got a backup star. Now slip the clutch, do an element left, come back and weave the ring, go once round. Meet your own and promenade.
Very good. I cheat. I got the button. No, yeah, it shouldn't do anything, especially in singing calls. Anyway, again, same scenario. You have S's and T's I hear because I'm standing next to you, but it's not coming out over the system. Put in just turn a little more into treble. You have a solid voice. Just turn it a little bit more. Now, everyone reacts a little different. Everyone has different vocal cavity that creates the sound. So everyone's reaction is going to be a little different. Try it again. I'll drop the needle. Remember, Difference between dancers and callers is the price of their toys.
Now back to your partner and your corner 2. Do an element left. Come back to an element R. Go forward 2. Boys wheel in, got a backup star. Now slip the clutch. Do an element left. Come back now, weave the ring.
Okay.
Go once around, get your own and promenade.
Okay. Okay. Let's trade mics. You have the toys now. Works too. You also have volume control. Yeah. You also have volume control on the music on that unit.
Here we go. Now back to your partner and your corner 2. Do an element left. Come back to an element R. Forward 2. Boys wheel in, got a backup star. Now slip the clutch. Do an element left. Come back now, weave the ring. Get your own and promenade.
No button. Do you hear a difference?
Yes.
Do you hear a difference? Okay. The difference is in the microphone elements. That has what we call rare earth element in it. It's a wider head, and I can give you all kinds of technical garbage. What it is, it's just got a different sound to it. It has a greater pickup capability. It has a larger or greater gain coming out of it. The one thing I personally like about the Electro Voice microphones that are now coming out, the N9 series, is that you as a caller don't have to work so hard for the same signal to go through and into the amp. It's been a great savior to our activity for those of us who like to get hoarse by about 2 o'clock Sunday morning. We don't have to anymore. But you heard a difference.
I thought I sounded fuller.
Yes. Okay. This is the best part of the situation. We do what we call A/B testing. I'm going to put that on. How many of you have ever heard the difference between an Electro Voice 635 and their other line? You don't know what I'm talking about? This sounds like it's got a full body to it. This sounds like a Dixie cup with 2 strings, all right? Same company. No, I always sound like this. This makes me sound 6 foot. You know, I'm only 5'6", and I sounded 5'6" with this. I am now 6'5". Okay, there's a difference in microphones, and this is one of the things I want to impress. The microphone can help you if you choose one that'll fit your voice. Now, granted, this is not the perfect environment, but even so, you hear a difference. Okay? There is a difference. Thank you very much, Ed. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Get a feel for it. Come on up. Come on up. What do you want to play with? You want to bring your own? Bring your own. This? Electro Voice or EV ND257. $140 at Hilton Audio. No. Check. Okay. This is an older model of 635. It's called 631. The basic difference is this is weak. Yeah, that can be it. This sound, yes. Yeah, it hasn't been switched over yet because I'm going into a low impedance. Do you have one of the remote units? Oh, you're working with a Newcomb, right? Yeah. Ah, that explains it. Okay, this is going to sound funny. I'm going to give you the 635, which sounds the same. 631 and 635 sound the same. The only difference is an on-off switch. Yes, that is called high-end feedback. Anybody who can do that is qualified to be a Hilton technician. Okay. Rich, I know what your legs look like. You want me to tell everybody? Last I saw them, the other end was in a toga. I'll explain. I opened my mouth. There's a festival in California put on by Kip Garvey, Jerry Story, Tony Oxendine, Bob Byer, and a few other suckers. And they have a themed after party. And this is at a fairground, so nobody really knows what's going on. Okay. This year, it was a toga party. All the dancers came in togas. The callers were dressed as the Blues Brothers. I don't know what happened. But we were all dressed comfortable, and it was cold as yesterday. You walk outside in a toga in that wind, and you know how happy you had dancers leaving that party. It was cold. Go ahead. Play band.
Bow to the partner. In the corner is two. Now wave to the girl across from you. Everybody circle left. Circle left around you go. Element left to an element there. Forward two. Then back up. Shoot that star to another there. Forward two and then back up. Shoot that star to a right and left. Grand to right and left you go.
Okay. I want you to try something. I'm going to swap with you. Now, I know you're not used to Hilton systems, okay? Control layout, everything, it's a strange beast, okay? Okay, but you're exposed to them, just not that used to it, okay? Try this microphone.
Bow to the partner. In the corners two. Wave to the girl across from you. All circle left. Circle left around you go. Now element left to an element there. Forward two. Form that star. Circle left and forward two. I watch your hat. I'm freaking out.
Ignore me. Don't look at me. Look at them. You don't know I'm back here.
Okay. Element left to an element there. Forward two. Then back up with a backup star. Shoot that star to right and left. Grand old right.
There's a difference. A real difference. Okay? I'm not saying that 635s are bad, but they're not good for everybody. You need something to fill out. You need something to fill out the bottom end because your voice is top heavy in its vocal range by comparison. 635 only emphasizes what you're putting out. This might give you that bottom end look where you don't naturally have it. Okay? That's the difference in microphones. I encourage you, if you want to take some time and have the time while you're here, to go down to Hilton Audio or to Supreme and just try them out. Get a feel for other sounds through other speakers. Okay. Your unit may have a conflict because of I'm not sure of the electronics of it, and it may not work. You may need a low impedance direct mic since you don't have this. Yes? The conflict of which? Okay. Go ahead. Thank you very much. Simply put, the electronics industry has no set, firm standards. The electrical level that these generate a microvoltage. That is how the sound works. Without getting too technical that I don't thoroughly understand myself. They generate an electrical voltage that's put out at a certain way. They put them out at different levels of power capability, and it's called a resistance level. Most low impedance microphones will have a statement on the microphone that's 200 to 600 ohm level, and that's the sound pressure hocus pocus it puts out. I'm serious. I'm not an electronic technician. I'm more of a sound engineer. The other side of it is they have high impedance microphones. They put out their sound voltage in the 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 range. So there's basically, it's a very loose comparison, but consider it like the difference between AC electricity and DC electricity, batteries versus the wall unit. Okay? There's just a little bit of a difference. There is a way to convert. Most microphones are that we, in fact, all microphones that we sell and are used primarily in the activity are what we call a low impedance microphone. The units are built to accept what we call high impedance. Inside of this remote unit is what we call a line transformer. It transforms the low into the high so the unit accepts it. Part of it is when you're running low impedance through a system, when we're using thin cords, it can pick up the noise through it. When you switch to high impedance, it kind of eliminates the noise. It's just an electronic trick to keep noise to a minimum. How many of you have been in other situations where you rub the cord and it sounds weird over the PA system? You can hear it. Okay? We try to eliminate that because of the portability of the situation. Okay? And that's basically the difference. One other thing I want to talk about before we get going. First of all, anybody have any general questions about what's been said or addressed or anything about the units? Yeah. That's what I call it too, but it's necessary. Okay, it has no effect. It has no effect on your voice. It's just how it's compatible to the systems. Okay? It's a square peg in a round hole. Yes? Right. Yeah, that's it. It's a matter of, she'll need a matching transformer to adjust. Again, it's a matter of compatibility. It's like going to Europe and you have to bring a voltage converter and all them funny little plugs to match up to their system. That's what it is. It's just a matter of compatibility. I'm not sure how you mean that. I think the end result... Right. Okay. The microphone, the 630 series, 1, 635, don't have a low end. If you look at the frequency range comparison, frequency range is judged by how wide of a spectrum of sound it picks up. If it's not wide enough, they narrow down. That one probably works in the 80 to, I would say, 15,000 range. This works in about the 30 to 20,000 range of cycles that it is capable of reproducing. Mac McCall, we were all at the dinner last night. The Red Boot Boys were singing. Mac McCall hit notes that dust the ceiling. Okay? It vibrates the ceiling. He's using one of these because he can reproduce it. He can't use a 635 because his voice is lower than what the microphone can pick up comfortably. Yes, Greg. They are switchable, but it requires surgery. Yeah. That, and sometimes you really shouldn't have to worry about it more than anything else. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it has the same tonal quality. A lot with the Weichmite is the balance and the feel of it. This also, again, has that, as I said, the different magnetics inside of it that you don't have to project personally as hard for it to pick up. The tonal quality is relatively the same. They're close. Yes. When you want to wrap any cord, you want to wrap loose. Okay? The reason is, we get remotes back periodically. Let's see, is this connected? No. Okay. We get cords back that have been so kinked, it breaks. Okay? Now, most of you don't have this end. You have the blunt black end on it, the strain relief there. And people just take it and bend it right there. Okay. You do that a couple hundred times, it's going to break off. If you can, store it. Roll your cord a little bit. Okay? Give it a roll. It's meant to be flexible, just not torqued into a hairpin. Okay? No wire is really meant to be done that. Roll your cord up a little bit. Whether you leave it connected or not is a matter of how you lay out your equipment. It's not going to hurt anything to leave it connected, because most of the damage done to it is in the weak, the story of the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Well, unfortunately, the wire is the weak link in these, because that's the thing that's flexible, bends, and gives the most. 10 years. But that also can just require a little bit of service, a little WD-40, and their work. They're pretty much silver-plated, and they don't really wear. I mean, I've only in 6 years seen one wear out, because, he does 3 sessions a day, 7 days a week, and tears it apart every time. That's about it. But again, the chain is only a weak link. Yeah, oh, that's true, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Take a look at the X-ray. What does it look like? We want to talk to you, boy. One time I was traveling to a festival, and for some reason in the back of my mind I said, pack some extra cordage for different things. So I was using a hard case briefcase, somewhat like that one. And I put all kinds of cord in the lid section and clamped it shut. Put it through security. The bells went off in the X-ray machine. They couldn't see anything. I had so much wire in there, so much copper. Sir, could you please open this setup? And they opened it. Well, you know how sometimes we pack and we add a little pressure to the closing procedure? Spaghetti. Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Bye. They figured out he ain't going to hurt anybody but himself, Okay. So again, for those of us that have this great luxury of getting more mileage on our frequent flyer miles than we really want to deal with, otherwise known as we can't get a job in our own backyard. Well, I get jobs too, but, they pay better on the road. No, I kid. No, as I said early on in the warm-up to this, this is a recreation. This is an activity. It's meant to be fun. And the only thing, like I said, that I take serious are the checks. Everything else is meant to be fun. Take them with a grain of salt. Yes, Mr. Buckley. I wouldn't suggest storing them in the trunk of your car, first of all. I know it's a bear to think, what do you mean I've got to take this out into the house? It's freezing outside. No. I understand that scenario. But for 2 reasons. Is your car outside or in the garage? Come on, let's have a consensus of opinion here. Outside in the garage. Detached garage. I get it. I have an attached garage that I have to go outside to get into. So I've got the third choice. If it's in the garage, it should stay warm. I mean, between transit, unless you've got an hour and a half drive to club, it's going to affect it. It can warm up, just run it a few minutes, because the one thing that may fail is the lubrication in the spindle well. Okay, that's just going to get cold, and it just takes a couple, some revolutions to warm up and come up to speed. Unless you're fighting fluctuation of speed, if it's fluctuating too much, then what I recommend is a clean out and re-lubrication, and we use a white grease in that. Don't use 3-in-1 oil in your turntables. Don't use sewing machine oil. The viscosity of these things drip. Okay? And you never know what little circuit board it's going to drip onto and cause a 4th of July party. Okay? Use a hard white grease, a titanium-based grease, just a white goop. If you own a trailer, the stuff you put on the hitch ball will work. White goop. Got a hardware store in the neighborhood? Ask for white grease. They come in a little tube, yay big. Radio Shack? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not familiar with their lubricants. Lubriplate is exactly what we use. The name brand is Lubriplate. But you only need to service it maybe once a year. If you're in a cold climate, twice a year, just to be on the safe side. pull off the platter, clean it off with alcohol, clean off the spindle, put a touch. Don't overdo it. More is not better. More just means a bigger mess when we get into it later that's collected dirt. Okay, just a little bit on the spindle well, just lightly lubricate it because a little bit goes a long way. In Hilton sets, on the bottom of the well, there is a little steel ball that it rests on, and that's what it spins on. It spins on a space of less than a 32nd of an inch of support, but it keeps the free flowing. Yeah, I know, we got to watch the time. I'm running late here. Okay, yes. Thieves, that's the damage. It doesn't hurt anything. The components can take a wide temperature range. How many of you remember the old gray cords we used to work with? Okay, you still have. How many of you live in cold country and wish that thing would bend a little bit? That is primarily why we switched over to a different thing. We were using a PVC jacket with polyvinyl chloride, which does not survive well in cold climates, so we went over to a generic that survives greater climates. It'll survive Arizona in the summer and Maine in the winter. And we don't have to supply special cords given your needs. Any other questions? We are running late, and I'd like to make sure you get off to your other sessions. Yes? Well, yeah. Okay. It's a trick. Very simple trick. And we'll finish this. And I'm going to show it to you. You find one way going one way, swing it around, and lock it inside. See what I'm doing? I'm going outside. Then, before you loop it going the same way, reverse it, loop it on the inside going the other way. We assume that you will take care of it. We build it in case you don't. One of the tests I'm serious. One of the tests we do in our shipping containers, we have a 2-floor building. We have a mezzanine up above our offices. We have about 16, 17 steps up there. We create a packaging system for them. We give it a ride down the stairs with a kick. Yeah. That too. Well, yeah. Yeah. The only Hilton that was brought back asking for a repair estimate that we really didn't want to repair was, poor soul, was hit by someone doing 70 miles an hour. Took the front end of the amp and put it right about the spindle. Circuit boards were still intact and the platter still spun. He asked for what would be the repair cost, and funny, it was just the same cost as a new unit. That was the estimate we gave him. We couldn't hammer that thing back to life for nothing. But they live. They survive. And there are many, many horror stories in the naked city of Hilton Audio about the survival of the equipment. Now, this is not meant to knock or criticize anybody else's units. We have just been in the activity for 30 years, and we've just tried to give it our best, to give you the best, because unless it's really a lemon, which is very rare in our history. And it does happen, it's just the fate of the components. Service, quality, and they just keep on going. Others can say the same thing. That's their privilege. Any other questions or anything I haven't addressed? Other than the fact you've got 5 minutes to the next session and you just missed your coffee. Okay? Thank you very much for coming, and if you have any questions, feel free to pull me aside, yank on me, and talk to me. I'll be glad to answer anything at any time.
Go ahead. Is there that much of a difference?